song itself is amplified, as are all the other pieces. Basically, to me, I see it as another example of people's digital version of themselves, people's second lives. For example, the way they portray themselves, on Facebook is kind of an idealized version of how they want other people to portray themselves, not necessarily how they are in their first person. So to me, this piece shows that change between first life and second life. As the piece stops when it's down, if the sequencer turns it off, it shows its actual true voice, not its second life. So to me, that's one of the main things I'm interested in with this show, is basically human interaction with new technologies and how they're appropriated into our culture. So what are the social implications of all these new digital medias? And what would the digital version of a relationship look like? So like, I've never met Kenny G, I've never met Courtney Love, but through forms of new media, I'm exposed to certain social stigmas that popular culture puts on these figures. So they're all very, what I see as excessive characters. That's where the term magnanimous comes from for me, is the idea of the excessive spirit. And all these characters, for me, are very excessive. They know they're excessive, and they're comfortable in their amount of excess. Whether it causes them to be sort of like made fun of in popular culture, they are who they are, they're happy with their excess, and that's them. And I appreciate and want to celebrate people who celebrate their own excess. For the viewer who knows the character, there are layers that can be picked out. Like, for example, anybody who follows the Red Hot Chili Peppers remembers the performances they did just wearing socks. The next piece is Kenny G. Kenny G, he's kind of a different type of excessive type. He might not be using drugs or a lot of the types of excess you'll see with like Courtney Love types, but Kenny G, for me, excessive in his confidence, like the idea of covering songs that other people see as masterpieces, but he has the confidence in himself to think, I can record a better version than what other people consider a masterpiece. Part of the piece for me as well, it comes from all the things you see on Kenny G in popular culture, South Park episodes. He kind of gets poked fun at all the time. So I'm, in a way, celebrating his spirit, but also showing what I see as degradation of popular culture. I'm open in my process to anything. My eyes are always open. Half the time you see more interesting things on the way to the museum than you see in the museum. I don't think everything's art, because then nothing's art. I do think everything has potential to be appropriated into art. So for me, I have no problem appropriating anything if that's what the idea in the piece calls for. So this piece, in all the pieces, I want them to have lifelike characteristics. This is a first series where sound wasn't just a byproduct of emotion, but also some of the focus in the work. So these pieces, Courtney Love in particular, this piece right now that's coming to life, she's probably the most random and gets the most variations through each cycle. Kenny G's probably the most repetitive, but for me, it's, that's what the piece ended up calling for. But I do want them to have an existence in and of themselves, like to be new existences. So Courtney, I think you can kind of tell where Some of the social connotations, references come in. The fact that she has a cokehead. It's kind of like a blatantly, overtly obvious reference to kind of her lifestyle. Tommy Lee, for me, this was the first piece in the series. This was the only piece that didn't start with knowing who the character was going to be. I had a feeling in mind. I knew kind of the motion and the sound I wanted. And after I constructed the piece, I said, okay, if this was a popular drummer, who would it be? Tommy Lee.